Welcome to Do or Die. My guest today is someone who has not only competed in distance running for well over 3 decades, but an individual who I believe encompasses the whole spirit of Do or Die. An intro wouldn't do him any justice, so let's find out more about him by getting straight into the interview. So first of all, Jim, can you kind of give us an account of your profession and specialism in the area?
There's kind of two sides to me, which are kind of linked. One side is the personal trainer. It's the running coach. I'm a UKA qualified running coach. And on the other side of things, I'm a healthcare professional. So I work in the NHS, helping people achieve their functional goals, which in my case is making braces and supports and artificial limbs and that sort of thing.
So when and how did you get into running?
I got into running at school. So I've been competing since I was 12. Left school when I was 16, joined the forces, lots of long-range reconnaissance stuff, that was my specialty, and got into sort of professional athletics after that.
So you're a 2:20 marathoner, which is like running at 5:20 per mile pace. Extremely fast. I can only do that myself for like a mile and a half. Now in your early 50s, your last marathon last year in Berlin was like under 2 hours, 50 minutes. What would a marathon training cycle typically look like?
Well, it does differ for every individual. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Identify your weaknesses and train to those. Give yourself enough recovery in order to get a training effect. If you train every day at the same thing, you're not going to get any better. The chances are you're going to get worse and you're going to get injured. Be specific about your goals each session, train to your max, and then recover. So for me personally, my endurance is pretty good. So I don't really have to do much endurance work. I'll do one long run a week. My bias is towards sprint and high intensity training. So I'll go into the gym, I'll do strength and conditioning twice a week. I'll do a lactate threshold interval session, which is long intervals, over 15 minutes per interval. Multiply that by 2 or 3. And then short intervals, so you're talking 200s, 400s, 800s, up to 1600 meters. So I'm really pushing the sprint side of things. As it happens, I did a study with London Marathon, looking at the genetics of behind my sort of performance. And it turns out I've got the right genes for a sprinter. In the first block of training, maybe 6 to 8 weeks, you're looking at it speeding up in shorter distances. There's no way you're going to hit 3 hours unless you can run 86, 87 minutes in a half marathon. Okay, it just will not happen because you can't produce the amount of power, and that doesn't extrapolate out to a 3-hour marathon. So you're going to have to get fast at the shorter distances and build that out. And that's really another principle, is that if you want to run fast at long distances, start off by running fast at short distances. Each session should be specific to a particular fitness parameter. So endurance, flexibility, if you want to go and do Pilates or like yoga, intensity, so you're talking short intervals. In the gym, lifting heavy, get lifting heavy, don't mess about, all right? So each session should be specific and it should produce a training effect, which means you've got to do it hard. Yeah, and that might mean doing a long, slow run. Make sure it's slow, make sure it's long. That is your stretch.
So what would you prescribe to a new mum who wants to lose about 1.5 stone or 9.5 kilograms of body fat?
Losing body mass. Is exercise going to do that for you? Probably not by itself. You know, you've got to be looking at diet as the major component. You know, you're taking too many calories, you're going to keep that weight on. Really what exercise is going to do is help you lift your metabolism. And also make you feel good about yourself and challenge your body, your strength. So I would have a frank conversation about really, you know, areas of confidence. Let's say, you know, bowel and bladder control, for instance. That's a big one. You know, whether there's been any problems with the abdomen, you know, like problems with muscle integrity. lower back, questions like that, and maybe decide whether running is actually the right thing in the first place, or maybe starting off with something more gentle, bringing running in very gradually, and just moving on. So actually setting goals every sort of few weeks is really important. It doesn't matter how good you are, how professional you are, resetting goals based on evidence every few weeks is really, really important. The role of exercise in obesity kind of treatment is it's a vital part, but it's only part of a lifestyle change, isn't it? So really you're talking about sort of motivation and psychology as much as, just telling somebody to do 20 press-ups or whatever. It's about much more than that. And in many cases, the major barrier is actually psychological.
Right.
So giving the person confidence to move on to the next level, whether it be getting off an exercise bike and walking on a treadmill, and then going on an elliptical trainer, and building up joint strength and that sort of thing. Yeah. It's all progress, isn't it? And I think as running coaches, we kind of get a bit obsessed with the old activity, but it's about much more than that.
I remember the first time we spoke, we both found out that we were running the Amsterdam Marathon about a month from when we first met. You then informed me that you were hit by a car. So how did that affect your training kind of leading up to the race, and how did it affect the race itself, knowing that you had an injury?
Yeah, I remember it well. I was running along the road and a car hit me from behind. So I hit and run thing. So I had a lot of nerve damage. Basically I couldn't feel one leg. And I had 6 weeks until the Amsterdam Marathon, right? And I just shouldn't have done it. I know I shouldn't have done it. If I was not myself, if I was my coach, I would have said, just sit down there, man, and just recover, yeah? But you just do it, don't you? I think it was partly a response to that, post-traumatic response. I went out and did it. So I just really said to myself, I'm going to achieve. Right. In terms of recovery training, I really went and did a lot of rolling, just tried to rest my body and recover before the marathon. Right. Luckily, I knew I had enough of a base. Right.
So did you kind of scale back your efforts accordingly, knowing that you had the injury there? And how did that sort of affect your mindset going into the race?
48 hours, and I was in tears, man. There's where the registration area is in Amsterdam, there's a track right next to it. And I walked out of the registration, I was bursting into tears. I just thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to achieve, because I couldn't actually walk out the place. Yeah, I was on a stick. Right. So my wife took me to the track next door and said, right, get around that effing track. Right. And I went around twice, and I realised I could do that. I could do 800 metres. So I thought, right, if I can do that, I can have a go. And it was just about getting there. It was just about reaching the end. I'm an ex-Marine. I'm used to going long distances and just basically surviving on your nerves. And that's what I did. It wasn't fun though, I can tell you that.
What's your take on the mental approach to goal setting?
In all my working lives is try and step back from a problem and to cut the emotional side out and really just try and be objective about whether something is achievable, whether a goal is actually achievable. If I didn't achieve near that, then it was my fault for not setting out the right goal in the first place. Okay, but without an aim, without a realistic aim, you're nowhere, right?
How important do you think strength conditioning is for athletic performance?
In each area of your fitness, you're increasing your capacity. So you imagine if your strength to do a marathon is like that big, and if you can expand your strength to that size, regardless of how fast it makes you, if you've got strength in your body structures, that's going to improve your injury, the kind of resilience, isn't it? Okay, likewise endurance. If you're doing a half marathon and you need that much kind of endurance, and then expanding that out by doing 2-3 hour slow runs to improve your metabolic fitness, that's going to give you that kind of extra capacity, right? Now, speed, that's a different thing. You're putting strength and joint movement together. Yeah. So get into the gym, build up your strength, get into the gym again, and if you've got the movement skills that you learned very early on, you can put the strength and the movement quality together as a powerful movement. Right. So actually, you can do most things in a gym.
So what about injury prevention? Now, what role would you say a planned strength conditioning program kind of has in this area?
As a principle, improving the strength of your body structures
Yeah.
on the one hand, and also improving the way you move your body on the other. So if you're doing deadlifts, which is a staple exercise, you know, if you're going to do nothing else, deadlift well, then you're using the whole muscle group, hopefully. And that's why heavy strength training up towards your maximum capacity is important.
Right.
Because when you have to lift heavy, you're going to use every single fiber in your muscle.
Right.
And so you're spreading load across your tendons and reduce your tendency to get tendon problems.
Okay.
All right. So you might not. It's very difficult to build up the size of a tendon.
Yeah.
But what you can do is spread the load across the muscle. Therefore, load the tendon evenly. Therefore, get less problems with tendonitis and things like that. In terms of performance, you know, the way a muscle stretches in response to the load you put on it and then responds, you know, and then we're talking about a power response from the muscle. The more muscle fibers that are active and the faster they can react, then the better load the better response you're going to get from the running surface. And that's not just thinking about legs, you know, thinking about trunk and upper body as well, because upper body movement plays a big part in performance.
The concept of do or die refers to doing whatever is necessary to come out the other side in better shape, that's both mentally and physically. So how does your approach fit into this?
As an athlete and a coach, I try and set realistic goals. And I know I keep going back to that, but it really is important. And also it's very satisfying when you decide you're going to do something that's realistic, not stupid or pie in the sky, and you achieve that. Tick those boxes, and if you haven't achieved them, then you know where to go from there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So like anything else, you learn by your failures, you don't learn by your successes.
So kind of expanding from that, how do you set your goals?
There are factors that you can't control, but you can mitigate through having a little bit of extra capacity left. You know, so I think it's realistic to have a sort of a spectrum of outcomes. You know, that you like best case scenario, okay, middling, and then if your leg drops off, you know, how are you going to get there? You know, that's where I was in Amsterdam. You know, I'm getting back to a stage where I'm like, okay, I'm moderate satisfactory, and then by next April, I'm going to be under 245 again. I can pick that long-term goal, and then it's really structuring your training towards that. What I'll try and do is nail them down to one goal, ideally, or a couple of goals, and give me a time frame. So if they say, I've never run before, I want to do a marathon in 4 months' time, and I want to achieve that time, I'll say, right, what evidence have you got for that? Then so I look at, I get some people's details, like physical details, what's the goal, and then show me the evidence, or tell me the evidence. So if you want to do, like, say, an ultra marathon, and you've only done 10Ks, that's all right, because at least I've got some evidence to work from, and I can kind of extrapolate out what you know, what you don't know, what your body's like, and start structuring a training plan around that.
Favorite sports person, and why did they appeal to you?
Laura Muir, I think, actually. She's got a great attitude to sport. She's literally been like running since she was a little kid and did pretty well at it. And only when she got to uni, she kind of realised she was pretty special. And you know, she's got it on the rest of her life. And sport plays a part in that. Okay, she's right up there, but not because she's obsessed with the, you know, the activity. It's more about just including activity and sport as part of her life. I really love that.
Thank you for watching or listening to this episode, and I hope you found it useful. A special thank you to Jim for taking the time to share his valuable experience and knowledge. I would be very grateful if you could leave a comment, share, like, and subscribe for more content. Thank you.